Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. Today I am going to do a little bit of discussion on the stage 6 effects of the C10 Tiffany truck. So here I have a fully maxed C10 truck. Thanks to the Mysterious Stranger account, I am going to be able to give you the exact stage 6 effects for each of the stage 6s with regard to this truck. This is one of the more interesting tier 5s in that it is a custom-made drag race truck from a real speed shop and is digitized even with their real phone number, which is pretty cool. So in any case, let's take a look at this truck and what it can do depending on the parts and upgrades that we can obtain for it. Okay, so here we have the full stage 5 setup. And at full stage 5, which I'm just going to show you briefly, here's all the stage 5s installed with full fusion. At full stage 5, if we dyno the car based on a tune that maximizes Evo, which for me is this is the setup, you can probably tweak it some ways to make a few more, but generally speaking, you'll be somewhere near a 10.044 dyno. This is an interesting thing because this vehicle can actually hit about 7.6 fully maxed, and that means there's a huge margin between 7.6 and 10.0. And that means the stage sixes may very well have substantial drops because it would have to make up all the difference among the seven stage sixes. So let's start taking a look at the stage six effects individually. All right, so the first stage six that we're going to start with is body. So here body is installed. That's a substantial increase now in both the PP point and also the Evo point. Although the PP point increase is greater than what I saw in the Evo point increase, a little bit of fine tuning may very well make a difference as well. So let's take a look at where it could be. With body installed, it seems like shorter duration nitrous can actually give it a decent amount of increase. I'm sure top speed can increase as well, which means I can now tweak the final drive to give it a little more right there. Let's see if more tire or less tire would help this. Oh, it looks like a little bit less tire may be able to get a few more points out of it. Um, and now let's take a look at the dyno. So we were looking at a 10.04. Now we drop to a 9.4. So that is a 0.6 drop. Um, 0.6, in fact, 2 drop from the original 10.044. So body is a big drop. This may very well end up being one of the top stage sixes for this car, but certainly this is starting off very strong with body being one of the more effective stage sixes. So let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so the second stage six we're going to look at here is tire. Now, tire is here installed. It has a decent increase in PP and a decent increase in Evo. Going to the dyno and doing a quick dyno without other tuning, because I already fine-tuned it earlier, you get about a 9.664 out of the tire by itself. That means that that's almost a zero point 0.4 drop just for tire, along with zero point 0.6 drop for body. Here you already have almost a full second drop between the two stage sixes. So that 2 will put you from about 10 to 9, which is pretty impressive if you think about it. That's a nice drop with just two simple stage sixes. Okay, moving right along here, we are now looking at transmission. Now, transmission gained a little bit of PP points, but very little change in Evo points. Now, I'm hoping a little bit of fine tuning may be able to help gain some. The faster shift seems to be more effective to drop the top speed. So that's something to keep in mind if you're ever using this car for speed traps that the extra transmission, because of the faster shift, actually made the top speed top out a little bit quicker. Dyno wise, it is not as impressive as even tire. So we're starting to go down in performance as we move to the next stage. Six is here. Body was huge. Trans was decent. This is now down to about a 0.18 difference from the original stock stage 5 only. So this one's a little bit less. Now, whether this is going to be one of the least, we still have to wait to see. But let's move on and take a look at the next one. All right, so we're moving on now to engine. Engine being the next one in line. Here it is installed. And I have tuned it so that we can take straight a look at where it is. Now, the final drive is dropped a little bit as comparison to the transmission. The tire slightly tweaked, but it does give us a nice 9.682 dyno. This puts it on par with tire and make it one of the, not the strongest, but certainly one of right now out of the four stronger ones as far as stage 6 is concerned. So we have three more to go, and we'll see if any of them will substantially beat zero point 0.4 as far as dropping the times. Let's take a look at the next one. All right, we're now back and we're going to look at the next one, and that is turbo. So turbo intake generally for tier 5 cars tend to be relatively weak. And so far, the PP change and Evo change tells me it's not very strong either. A little bit of tweaking and the dyno will tell us what it can do. 9.822, this still makes it a little bit better than trans, but certainly not much different, being that it's in the 9.8s. So we have one in 9.4 after, which is body, two in the 9.6s, and two in the 9.8s so far. Okay, let's move on and take a look at intake and nitrous after intake. Okay, so we are moving to the next one, and now we're all the way to intake. Here, intake is installed. Intake has a decent increase in Evo as well as a little increase in PP, making it likely to be on par with turbo and tire in, not tire, turbo and trans in some way. Let's take a look here. It looks like intake here actually outperforms both turbo and trans by just a few hundreds, meaning it won't come in on the bottom this time as far as stage sixes are concerned. So let's see what nitrous can do, because generally speaking, nitrous usually don't come in on the bottom. Okay, now we're up to our seventh stage six, and that is nitrous. So here we have nitrous installed. Nitrous is one of those stage sixes that definitely will change things and will need to be tuned, um, most likely to the shortest and most powerful duration. But it may allow a slightly lower final drive also to work, because it could push the car into a much higher top speed. Here, I'm making quite a bit of adjustment here and gaining a decent amount of Evo points. Let's see if it'll go up anymore. Okay, so let's leave it there and take a look. 9.519. So this comes in right in between body and tire. So here you have body at 9.4, this at nitrous at 9.5, tire at 9.6. So there is your top three stage sixes, and the three combined should easily put you into the eights. But let's now um, confirm that with some stage six combinations. Okay, so here let's take a look at the first combination, which is the top three here. Boom, boom, boom. Body, nitrous, and tire being the top three stage sixes. I have all three installed, and that gives a very decent Evo of 1700, and that's 1780 actually, 1760, I'm sorry, and that's not even tuned yet. And here, There's definitely more to be had here. We're well over 1800 and it's only going up. Okay, so 1861 is what I kind of saw there. Let's see if I can duplicate that and beat it. Oh, looks like 2.50, 61. Let's play with the tires slightly. Doesn't look like it's going to get better. And here we are now down to 8.5. So you're talking about a drop from 10 to 8.5 with three stage sixes. So that is a pretty substantial drop. Let's look at a different combination. And that's going to be the other four instead of these three. So we're going to go ahead and put trans-in, engine, turbo, and intake. But we're going to remove nitrous, body, whoops, and tire. So now you're looking at different, the lower four stage sixes combined versus the top three combined. Here, I'm going to have to play with the nitrous again. The duration probably changed to a longer one. Okay. Do we need to lower the final drive a little bit? Yes, because you don't have all that nitrous pushing it anymore. So here the big numbers are coming in with a much more aggressive final drive, which will give it a little more of a better acceleration, but less top speed. Okay, so I just lost another. So 9.1. So these four cannot quite get you through to the eights, although they do combine to drop almost a second. But let's see. Yeah, it looks like we're stuck at this one. So there you go again, 9.193 with four stage sixes, which are the weakest four versus 8.5 for the top three. So other combination of a good stage six and two weak ones can still possibly get you into the eights because it will be a little bit tighter, maybe 8.9, 8.8, depending on which ones you get, but you can certainly get into the eights even with the weaker stage sixes combined with one of the top ones, particularly body. Okay, so we have looked at the combinations, and now we're going to look at this car fully maxed. Fully maxed means all stage six and all fusions. Some people consider maxed with just all stage sixes, but missing some fusions. That's not fully maxed. This tune that I'm showing you right now is acquired based on the Elite Race Wars page world record tune. And I want to give them credit for this. This is where I got it from their CSR2 World Record Facebook page. So this tune is the one that some other player has obtained a world record on. The thing about this tune is it's a very low final drive tune, so it's very easy to get a 0 RPM drop when you launch the car perfect. I didn't actually watch the video on how exactly they drive it. I assume how I'm doing it is probably close. You launch it slightly on the late perfect side, so it doesn't get a 0 RPM drop. And it looks like the thing to do would be to hit nitrous in second. Again, wasn't the best shifting on my part, 7.699. World record, you can actually get under 7.6. But still, relatively fast, all things considered. 7.699 is not great, but it's not terrible either. So that's fully maxed. However, fully maxed also means it's difficult to beat dyno. The times it runs actually puts you in a lobby where a lot of cars will be faster, much like most other cars fully maxed. So it's not the most competitive position to be in. Right now, I'm going to show you what happens if you launch perfect, dead on. Boom, 0 RPM drop. And then you're going to be running very slow. Even if you hit nitrous quickly, which I didn't, I doubt you're going to get even close to dyno on that particular kind of a launch. So that's the 0 RPM drop that you're facing because you're running high grip and slightly low end final drive. So you want to avoid that 0 RPM drop. Usually to do that just means slightly later launch or slightly earlier launch. All that being said, and considering everything else. The problem is that this is not a really competitive tune, at least not if you want to win, right? If you're just racing to swap, that's a perfectly fine tune. And in fact, it's great because you can run consistently in the 7.6 range, putting you at the Supermax lobby. And if you find a good swap partner, that should be no problem. But let's say you want to win with this truck right here. You don't want to just race just to race. You want to race, but you also want to win. That means you need to have some kind of a lobby control tune, something other than just a pure swap tune that we would get based on a fully maxed setup. So, is there a way to do that? Well, the answer to that is yes. In order to down tune, as they call it, a vehicle like this, and this applies to many of the cars in game, the trick is finding that magical point where the tire upgrade and the grip and the power upgrade, which is everything else, hits a median where you get the possibility of a large Evo drop. That is a recognized by the computer down tune. So what I just did there, if you saw what I just did, which is I bumped down the final drive, and there's a huge drop of Evo that happens with just that one little point of movement, zero point zero 0.01 movement, and boom, you get an Evo drop. What that Evo drop does is it gives you a huge advantage to lobby when you actually run the car. Meaning, yes, it dynos 9.8, but you're actually able to run the time that the actual adjusted grip setting would allow you to do, which would be like 8.6, 8.7. So this means, again, you can't launch it perfect. You launch it slightly late, and you otherwise drive it pretty much the way you would normally drive it. What you end up with, though, is a time that is going to crush the dyno of 9.872. So that is the down-tuned, um, a down-tuned time you can do with the C10 by adjusting certain upgrades. Again, the same technique works for other cars, but not every car. There are quite a few different ways to down tune, and this truck happens to use this particular method. So once again, having a full second down tune isn't a great thing. So what you have to do is now you have to learn how to drive it to control it within a certain margin. And that margin is going to be where you have to do some testing in the dyno area using free runs. Because you want to end up beating dyno by about zero point 0.2 to zero point 0.3 range and not more. So here, um, by running it a little differently, I have just ran basically on dyno. So that gives you the ability to kind of control what you're doing. If you can control it, then you can go to live and utilize this tune to win against actual opponents. So let's take it out there and get a few live races in and see what this car can do, assuming we have control over what it can do. Okay, so I just have some stuff pop onto the map. I'll let it go. Okay, here we go. I should be placed into the 9.8 second average lobby, which actually would run somewhere probably between 9.99 to 10. Even some 10.0 and change guys end up in this lobby, down to probably the faster guys being on the edge of 9.7. So the range in between should be those what these cars actually run. And given that I can run 8.7, I should be able to crush whoever very easily. But again, I'm not here to run all out. I want to stay in the lobby that I actually entered into. And the only way I can do that is by bracket racing the car. You keep it within the bracket, but you beat your opponent to the end. That is the key. And in order to do that, I am going to try to control how I drive it by not shifting into fourth, and also not running it all out unless I have to. So here I took a loss, but there's no problem with that because it gives me a little hint on where these cars are at. Now, that one ran a 9.7. I can now know that I can beat him if I run like a 9.65 or something. All that requires me to do really is to kind of shift a little bit better and still use nitrous or even use nitrous a little earlier. So there are various ways to do this. But here I'm just going to launch it and again shift and hit nitrous in third. But this time I let second gear run all the way through. So that gives me a faster run than before. So this time I am the one running a much faster time. Let's take a look. 9.7. So I kind of ran what he ran last round and he ran what I ran last round. Interesting. Was that intentional? I don't know. Let me give him a second to re-challenge me. No? No. Okay. All right. So he must not ran as well this time and um, kind of a slower run, so I got my win back. But at least now I'm pretty confident I'm in the right lobby. So now I can start looking at the other potential players in the, or opponents in the lobby. Here's four guys with the same name, probably four accounts swapping with each other. So I'm gonna move over and look for somebody else, somebody who doesn't have swap symbols that may actually want to race. Oh, here we go. Now, FXXK can run under dyno. One other thing that I don't do a lot when I first enter a lobby with a fully down tuned car like this is I don't care if I win or lose. My main goal is to run a few slower runs first to sit the lobby because your average run time determines ultimately the lobby you stay in. So winning or losing isn't as big a deal as long as I control it. Now here I'm going too fast. I'm going to slow down. Whoop. Oh, oh, a little too much. A little too much there, but that's okay. That's okay because now I ran a 10 and he ran a 10.05. So I actually ran slower than my dyno, so I'm keeping my average kind of slow, which is good. This won't hurt me. And now I'm going to go back out and see, if I can find another opponent or not. So that just kind of gives you the feel for how you run a car like this. Okay. Let's actually go back. Let's go back and take a look at this car again from a tuning standpoint. Okay, so I'm going to collect my little prize right there. Every gold counts. Oh wait, I really don't need it on this account. But anyway, irrelevant. Habit. Okay, so again, this truck is not a favor for many people because in some cases, without the right upgrades first, you can't do a down tune like this. And if you can't do a down tune like this, the truck is less competitive overall. That's not to say it's not competitive. It just won't have as greater a margin between what it runs dyno and what it can do otherwise. Now, one thing you need to know is that this down tune doesn't work the same way if you have different parts. See how I'm changing the parts and you see the jump to a negative evo? That's not optimal. So by dropping body, you can also still get a negative evo drop, a substantial one at that, but it actually hurts you in some sense because you're not you're going straight from 1,000 to negative 200. That's like probably over 1.5 second to 1.7 second change. And that's very substantial. But with the negative evo, you're not going to make RP, which means it's not as viable a tune for live racing. I mean, sure, yeah, you can um, use it to beat some people for money, but it's not a particularly good live tune. So again, 2.0 isn't also the most optimal for getting the highest RP either. There's different ways to tune it. Here, this is just for a speed trap. If you lower the grip without changing much else, you can automatically get a higher speed trap. That's for people that plan to use this car for Tempest right there. That's a little trick there. The car already does great 0 to 100, so you don't even have to worry about that. But if you're going to use it for Tempest 3 Tier 5, just keep in mind that lowering the tire grip will help you get a higher trap speed. So that was the stage 6 effects, fully maxed, and then a dyno crusher tune that I just showed you. That means that this truck actually isn't all that bad. The downside, of course, with a truck like this, and because it's a Chevy, is that it's very hard to get fusions and stage 6 parts for it. Sure, I have a maxed one on this account, but I can tell you on my personal account, mine's not even close to being maxed. It's missing a bunch of stage 6s, and I've owned the truck since it was a milestone. So don't expect to just buy this Tiffany right now for the Fast and Furious event but with gold and then instantly max it because it'll cost you. Is it worth upgrading? That's a personal choice. I don't think it's a bad vehicle, and if you love the way it looks and you want to max it, by all means, go for it. So let me know what your thoughts are once you've seen the video and seen what it can do. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Some people love the way it looks, and others hate the way it looks. I'm always open for comments and questions on anything I post. So feel free to make comments and let me know your thoughts on this particular vehicle. And if you like the video, please leave a like. Let me know you like it so I know what I can do for you in the future, whether it's better sound or better setups. I'm always interested in people's feedbacks. And please subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications when I make new videos. And as always, I appreciate you for watching my videos, and I will catch you next time with another CSR2 video. Have a good night.